Story 1, I only perceived the darkness coming, and after this I found myself in a dark, circular room that was completely black. But in there I couldn't feel any cold, just an incredible warmth and well-being. Never before in my life did I have this kind of feeling. It was a downright excessive feeling of safety and security, stronger than any hug when I was a child. It felt like everything that you had already experienced in life, but all together at once. In front of me in the distance, I saw a bright, round, light window, wherein you could see something green and rainbow-colored. I was surrounded by figures, people that I didn't see, but I could very distinctly feel how they softly put their hands on me and were guiding me. I didn't see them, but I perceived exactly that they have been loved ones from my life intercepting me. If they were still alive or already deceased, I could not tell at the time. My feeling now tells me that they had been deceased. I was sitting on something so that I didn't need to walk, and I had the feeling that my deceased pets were there too. Then I perceived a fast ending of this feeling, and I was aware that the hands let go to leave me there. I opened my eyes and looked at the face of my friend shaking me, and looked at the face of my wife holding me. With this came a feeling of anger and disappointment, because they had been tearing me away from this wonderful feeling. I felt an incredible sadness because I felt my body again, and with it my exhaustion. But later on I felt fine, as if deep down in myself something had been recharging me or giving me power. For about 10 minutes afterwards I was somehow perturbed because I didn't know anymore what exactly was reality. I had to tell them what happened, as I needed to share the incredible feeling I experienced. Deep in my memory I have the pictures of the whole sequence, and I see myself sitting on the stairs. I see my friend with the glass in his hand running toward me and asking what's wrong. Then he looked at me and hit my face until he saw that there was only white in my eyes and that they had been twisted back. Very nervously he called his wife and mine out of the house. My wife took a seat to my left, holding me in her arm, and he was in front of me shaking and buffeting me to wake up. His wife was standing next to him and wanted to call emergency. That's what I believe I saw, but I'm not very sure about that because those pictures were only coming up 1 or 2 days later. I can't really distinguish between reality and imagination. But my friend meant that according to his knowledge about the whole sequence, this is approximately consistent with what happened, and that the whole thing took somewhere between 3 and 10 minutes. But we have to consider that in this moment the feeling of time might be a bit vague. After this, I was still quite sad for several days, as I realized that I might probably not feel this feeling again for a long time. And I'm looking forward to that moment. During my life, I had always been a very empathic person, and I could always sense the people I know well. Because of this feeling, I could always understand them and tell them about their present feelings. That scared them quite a bit. Since this experience, I feel this much more and intensely. I can even sense other people's thoughts. A little story after this event that seems a bit odd and may be connected to it. In 2018, we took over my parents' hotel and restaurant. Since the year of the event, each time I looked at the clock, it was either 9:11 a.m. or 19:11 p.m. The numbers 911 have been chasing me at least once a day. Furthermore, I always got a feeling that somebody is with me, and sometimes I could clearly see a person in my presence looking at me fondly. I never could see this person distinctly because it was always moving but never running away from me. My strong feeling and conviction about this person is that this is my deceased grandfather who bought this building for my father, and who also died in this renovated house. In 2019, there was a big fire in our restaurant, and from then on, I don't see anyone anymore. Also, I stopped seeing the number 911. Nevertheless, I sometimes have the extremely warm feeling that just now somebody is next to me and is hugging me. This story was shared by Michael Z and happened in 2017. Story 2. During my trip to the hospital, 3 separate attempts were made to restart my heart using adenosine, followed by 3 attempts with a defibrillator. After the first attempt, I was thrown first into an optical experience. The frame of vision was within the ambulance and started rapidly folding onto each other from varying 90-degree angles. Initially, I felt like this was never going to end and was not sure if I was dreaming or if this was a real experience. I came back to a steady frame and started responding to the EMTs. They were surprised that I was conscious and communicating, and then told me that they were going to have to try again. Upon the second attempt, I was thrown in the same manner as the first into another optical experience in which I was reliving certain memories from my past. If I remained calm, it was as if I was learning some lesson from them. If I would feel that I wish things could have been different, a feeling of chaos would overwhelm me. This seemed to last for quite some time and through many different memories. Each time the feeling of chaos would overwhelm me. My focus would be drawn to a very bright, pure white light. At first, I did not want to go anywhere near this light as I was consciously aware of what it was. As I would regain my composure, I would find myself back in the ambulance. Once I would find myself there, I would check myself over and ask questions. Again, the EMTs would comment on the fact that I was still conscious and then try again, sending me into a similar experience. This would follow the third and the fourth attempts with similar experiences. Each time as I would find myself back in the ambulance, I would open and close my hands and then continue to communicate with the EMTs. It seemed as if they were shocked and confused as to why or how I could still be conscious and communicating. Each time they would try again. On the fifth attempt, I surrendered after finding myself unable to remain within the calm experience of my past. The chaos was almost unbearable, so I located the bright light and moved towards it. There were feelings of guilt for all that I would leave behind, and guilt for any shortfalls in my belief that may keep me from being worthy to cross into this light. Every ounce of me knew I was not going back to my life. The beginnings of this were emotional, but then became peaceful as I came to terms with the fact that this life was over, and that I had done everything I could to hold on. As I crossed into this white, warm light, I was received into a room of pure light. I was lying on a table in this room surrounded by 7 or more beings. They were very tall and slender, and their appearance was of shadows within an aura of bright light. There was one being who held an orb of what looked like liquid gold light that was dripping and contained geometric patterns. The other beings were touching this orb and cleaning my body with it while encouraging me and commending me for the life I had lived. The being who held the light very sternly asked why this was all being wasted on me. From off in the distance, a loud voice said that I was the only one who could handle all of this, which seemed to make the being holding the light upset. This being then slammed the orb into my chest and kept pushing down on it until the orb was fully within me. Once the orb was gone, this being kept his hand upon my chest. A feeling of compassion filled the room for a moment until chaos overcame me. I found myself once again opening and closing my hands and checking myself over in the ambulance. This time I heard one of the EMTs crying by my left shoulder, and another alerting the rest that I was still conscious. One of the men said there was no way I was still there. I then spoke to him saying I was still there and holding on tight. I asked them about the treatments they had administered, and after going through the details, I said, "Have you ever wondered if the heart was just meant to be open?" I then stated that nobody was going to be able to stop my heart. After saying this, I was told that they were going to have to try again or my heart was going to fail. After the last attempt, I do not recall an experience except that I was aware they were putting my arms next to my sides. One EMT grabbed my right shoulder and said, "I'm sorry, man." I then woke up in the hospital with my wife by my side. I was confused and not knowing if what I was experiencing in that moment was real or not. The hospital slowed my heart over several hours using beta blockers, and then I was released. I have felt calm, reflective, and centered over the last few weeks. This story was shared by Sam P. and happened in 2022.